What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Player One versus the World's StrangeCast. I am one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host, Adam, is here. Adam, you're here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in a new space. Yay. It's not fully set up, but it's mostly set up. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
Indeed. If you are watching on the video version on YouTube, Adam is in a new space, moved your life quite a lot, didn't you, in between things?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No green screen, though, so unfortunately.
Yes,
Yeah.
it will be back. But as I said, this is on the video version. So if you're listening up to us on podcast services, we are on YouTube with video version.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we're back now after two very heavy episodes on the Remastered collection. There will be Remastered collection in this episode as well, but nowhere near as much as the last two, which is probably good as well. I feel like there was very mixed feelings about that entire experience. And we've got a very heavy, a lot of moaning, and I love moaning, as people who listen to this podcast know. But yeah, it's like, we had a lot there, so we're kind of going to go a bit different direction with this. We had actually a topic segment, but we've removed that because there's a lot of news
Mm-hmm.
around Dontnod, around Life is Strange in general. So we kind of formatted the entire show around this. And I imagine there's going to be a lot to talk about anyway. But before we get into that as well, just a quick update. There will be a new Life After Strange episode this month. Yay! It's already been recorded. I've done it early this month. It will be out in the middle of March, I expect. So that'll be episode 29th guest, and it will be someone from True Colors again. So I hope you're looking forward. Exactly. And speaking of True Colors, Adam, segue. We kick things off with BAFTA news. So the BAFTA Game Awards nominations are in. I'm going to go straight to that press release. So this is on the 3rd of March. BAFTA has today announced the nominations for the 2022 BAFTA Games Awards, celebrating the very best in games of 2021 and highlighting an outstanding level of creative excellence from a broad range of UK and international development teams. So the award ceremony will take place on April 7th at Queen Elizabeth Hall, South Bank in London. Don't care about the presenter. It'll be on BAFTA's channel as well. So the ceremony will see winners in 18 categories, recognizing a range of crafts, performances, and games. All awards are voted by BAFTA's membership of games industry professionals, with the exception of EE Game of the Year award, which is voted by the public. So there's that. So 16 categories have been announced today. A further two will be announced later at a later date. So whilst we're recording, they've not actually been announced yet, which in itself was a big one, because I was like, where is Erica Murray for Best Performer? And I was like, there's something missing there. And probably maybe even Katie Benz for supporting as well. I wouldn't rule that out. But so we got the nominations in. So Life is Strange, True Colors is nominated for 2 BAFTAs. One is for animation and the other one is for narrative. And on top of that as well, just in general, to kind of give you a scope of the entire BAFTAs, there's 39 games have been nominated. 8 nominations for Returnal and It Takes Two. They're the most. 7 nominations for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. 6 nominations each for Horizon and Psychonauts 2. 5 nominations for Deathloop. Nominations in Games Beyond Entertainment, which I'm surprised Life is Strange isn't in there, but I imagine we'll come on to as well, because it has appeared in similar categories and whatnot over the last couple of years. So, and before we discuss this as well, I'm going to run you through it. So in animation, Call of Duty Vanguard, It Takes Two, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Life is Strange, True Colors, and Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So they are the nominees in that category. And the other one was narrative, which I'm clicking on now, and that will give you It Takes Two, Life is Strange, True Colors, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Psychonauts 2, Returnal. I completely misread that. Returnal. And Unpacking. So those are the nominations that Life is Strange, True Colors are in. Adam, yeah, we've missed a lot of news, but Adam, how do we feel about this?
Okay, so can I be blunt?
Of course.
Of course. Well, who am I talking to? The master of blunt.
Exactly.
I'm going to be very blunt and say, in comparison to the other nominations, I don't think Life is Strange True Colors is going to win either category. If we're going to be talking animations, especially if we're going against Psychonauts 2 and It Takes Two, It Takes Two had I'm not trying to say the True Colors had bad animation. It had fantastic animation. It had one of the best mocaps we've ever seen in any video game ever. However, it's just I feel like there's a difference between mocap animation and, well, I mean, there was mocap in It Takes Two. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't know. There was just a certain way that it was a very unique way of style in terms of the animation, and It Takes Two. I was very impressed with it. Same thing goes with Psychonauts 2, I feel like. Now, narrative, I haven't played it yet. It's coming to Game Pass March 10th, so I'm planning on playing it. But apparently the narrative in Guardians of the Galaxy is like really, really phenomenal. I've heard nothing but good things. My favorite gaming podcast, Cheap Ass Gamer, or even Wombat, who hates narrative. Well, doesn't hate narratives, but very hard to read. Even he says it's phenomenal. Like, he loves the narrative. So it's just like, I'm going to be blunt and say, like, it's great that they're nominated, but in the comparison of the other ones, I don't think they're going to win.
Yeah, it's a tough year for True Colors, because like those two categories, I think animation has its best chance of winning something, but in that category,
I think so.
Like you said, you played It Takes Two as well, so I know that you've raved about it as well. It's like in itself, like, oh yeah, the category that's in there is quite competitive for animation, and then like with narrative as well. Guardians of the Galaxy I believe took the game of the year at Game Awards.
Wait, what? No, it didn't take. I think it was not. No, I don't even think it was nominated for Game of the Year, but it did win.
Or did it win Best Narrative there? Actually,
that's what I think it did win Best Narrative.
Whilst you look that up, I'm pretty sure it won something, which was in category with Life is Strange: True Colors. So in that category, my kind of like bets that are already on Guardians of the Galaxy to go for it. It wasn't a commercial success, as Square Enix revealed in its fiscal report. Well, according to Square Enix anyway. But it was very, very popular, acclaimed, and from what I can tell, and from what I've heard myself from other people, it is worth your time, which obviously I will get to at some point. So I think with those,
it did win Game Award for Best Narrative.
That's one, not the Game of the Year. So it won Best Narrative. So there's kind of like an early indicator. Not that obviously Jeff Keighley's ceremony means anything, because but like, because you know how I feel about Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards, but like it's just kind of like a bit of a taster in terms of like maybe that's going to happen again. I think realistically with the BAFTA Games Award, I think it will go to Guardians. So I think like in the two categories, it's really hard at this point. And I think like it would be a big surprise if it took at least one of them. Obviously, like I said, like I was a bit surprised when the two lead performer and supporting role weren't nominated yet.
Right.
And that in itself was like, right. And obviously True Colors will be nominated in those. I think Erica Mori will get nominated for Best Actor or Best Lead Performer. But I think
I hope so.
Yeah, but I think she's going to lose to Maggie Robertson for Lady Dimitrescu. Oh, she swept the war
again. She twice in a row.
She swept it from everything. I think she won Maggie. She won
she won an in-game award. She won best
she won something recently as well. Was it the Dice Awards as well?
Oh yeah, I think she won Dice Awards.
Yeah, because I saw a picture of I believe Webb met her and Erica met her as well, and they had pictures. But
I'm not saying that she didn't deserve it. Like, I'm not trying to say anything like that. I'm even looking at best performances is Maggie Robertson. Yep, as Lady D.
Dimitrescu.
Yeah, Lady D.
Lady D. But I kind of feel a bit. Maybe I'm being a bit biased, but I feel like Erica Mori should be challenging more for these awards in terms of like,
yes,
because I feel like
her story is phenomenal. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like I like Lady Dimitrescu. I think it was a great performance from Maggie Robertson. I think like almost like the marketing was a little bit misleading of how much we thought she was going to be in the game, and like that doesn't mean that someone shouldn't win something for less screen time. You only have to look at Hannibal Lecter from Anthony Hopkins to see where you can win an Oscar for being on such low screen time. But I think like it's weird that Alex Chen is getting overlooked for how good that performance really is. Like that performance is seminal from Erica Mori. It's unbelievable. So I feel like she should really have like at least snagged one of these at like kind of a surprise. Maybe it's just bias, but I think realistically that. So I think in this again, I think she's in a tough task. She could win it. She could surprise us. I wish she wins it as well. And Erica, best of luck as well. If you are somehow managed to stumble across my channel again, best of luck. So like, in itself, I'd love to see her win it. I think she deserves to win it. And I think like it's a good challenge for her as well. I think maybe she can challenge this category. When we get the nominees, obviously other games, you got Guardians, actors I imagine will get nominated. I imagine some other games, someone from It Takes Two, I don't know. Like it's hard to kind of predict who's going to win that. So I think that's kind of one. The one I'm now kind of like leaning towards in my kind of dark horse prediction is that in the best supporting category, Katie Bence gets nominated for Steph Gingrich. And then from that, she can challenge. Because she's not, because like it's weird. So like even all the performance ones, well, like the Game Awards, they don't have a best supporting one. And it's a bit weird. I feel like in those kind of categories, like there should always be a best supporting thing. So I feel like we haven't really had a full gauge of like who's going to get nominated for it. I feel like my dark horse prediction is that Katie Bence could get nominated for a BAFTA for Steph Gingrich in supporting and then challenge. And I think she could realistically win that because of how much the emphasis on Steph. Because I know that in the year that Life is Strange 2 was nominated, so obviously Gonzalo Martin won the BAFTA for lead actor or best performer, whatever they call the award. And then in the supporting category, they had two, remember? So they had Jolene Anderson for, what's her name now? Karen Reynolds. Was nominated for best supporting, and also Sarah Bartholomew was nominated for Cassidy. So they had two in that category. So they actually, and it was two very stellar characters as well, to be honest. So they were both nominated in the same year in the same category. And obviously, like, I think realistically that's the one. My dark horse prediction is that I feel like maybe I'm hoping Katie gets nominated for best supporting.
Yeah, I mean, whenever it does happen, I mean, here's the thing, Adnan. At the end of the day, this is all like British nominations, and we all understand that British don't really matter. USA. So at the end of the day, I don't think any of these really actually matter at the long run. Do you agree with me, Adnan, that the British don't really matter?
Yeah, I was just about to drop an F-bomb, but I'm not going to. I'm trying to keep myself calm on this position. Well, yeah, awards ceremonies or whatever, and I think like I do plan on revisiting True Colors at some point because I really want to go back and play it. I feel like maybe my mind will change a little bit when I go back and play it. But it was a good game. I enjoyed it, and I think like there was so many kind of like they hit the beat on a lot of things, and I think like it's got a lot of acclaim. It's done well commercially, from what I can tell, and it's got like other little bits of success, but I just want it to take something quite prestigious. And in terms of like a BAFTA, I feel like it would be good for Deck Nine to take it, whether it's even if it's the studio being nominated or even Erica Mori or whoever winning something like that. I think that's one for me. So obviously we will follow this more when it rolls around in April. Adam, have you got anything else?
Just for the record, British people matter. And I do respect BAFTA wins. I respect them more than Game Awards wins. Let's put it that way. I think there's more I think there's more calibers to the BAFTA Awards than it does the Game Awards. So just putting it on the record now.
Yeah, well, we would have had more issue if you didn't have that kind of perspective, because they'd be like, what's wrong with you, man? So yeah, like it's good way to start off the show. Obviously we'll be keeping an eye on that, and we're going to move into the Remastered collection. Sorry guys, obviously we've done 2 episodes on this, but this is obviously not a huge segment, but I feel like it's worth the update. So obviously Life is Strange Remastered collection patch notes we're going back to. So patch B is now live from the 7th of March. We're recording this on the 7th of March. Well, I'm technically the 8th of March right now because of the time zone we're recording it in. So this
time travel.
Madness, isn't it? So obviously 7th of March, patch B rolls out. We've already had patch A roll out. And then on top of that, patch C rolls out from the 14th of March. So just going back to the Square Enix blog post. So patch B is now released on all platforms. Other than Before the Storm Remastered on Xbox, for which we'll have more news soon. Oh god damn it, Xbox! Who plays that? That one guy who plays it. That one guy who plays it. Who hosts that one guy who hosts StrangeCast plays Xbox. Boo hoo!
Literally, according to Twitter, I'm pretty much the only guy who's been playing the Remastered collection on Xbox. Everybody else is PlayStation and PC. I'm like, I'm having a great time. Nothing issues here, but. I'm the only one.
Says everything. So let me just run you through a couple of patch notes whilst we're here. So we got Life is Strange Remastered, the first one. So we got fixed a character miscoloration after extended play, remove the need to restart console, high gamma settings causing pixelation, and blown out or incorrect color fix. Missing scene of chair moving and exit bedroom window fix. I don't remember that, but
I don't. Wait, what chair? I don't remember this.
I
But
don't-
the lighting flickers fix, that's a big
Yeah,
one. That's
big
a
one.
huge one.
And hopefully that's in Before the Storm as well. Hopefully as well, which come on to.
Hopefully, yeah.
Max animation improvements. Hopefully not Max. And when your character's called Max, I think it's called all characters. But yeah, PC Steam, which is specific cinematics with muted audio fix. Sun is missing during end of eclipse scene fix.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Right. Instances of loading screens appearing dark and pixelated. That's on PC and Steam. So obviously PlayStation specific ones, specific cinematics with muted audio fix, solar flare causing graphic corruption on main menu fix. I think that solar corruption might happen to you. Do you when you have Dave Madsen's photo? It's like beaming bright light.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So graphical corruption occurs at the edge of screen fixes. That's PlayStation. Stadia's got specific cinematic with muted audio fix.
But like I also had it too. Like I also have muted audio and cinematics too on Xbox.
It's just weird. So like Life is Strange Before the Storm Remastered. They've got released on all platforms character discoloration fixes, instances of visual degradation, and then PC and Steam updated farewell episode. And they've also added a no 60 frames per second rendering mode for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And ultra-wide support on PC are implemented, but require additional testing before we push them live, necessitating a separate patch due week commencing 14th March. So that's obviously patch C, or the roadmap C, whatever it's called. We were previously working towards these updates being available to users commencing 7th March. So apologies for the extended wait. So that's a update for the people who are holding out for the remastered collection and waiting for it to all be fixed before they play it, which is probably the smartest decision. I feel like this is just like that in itself. Reading all the blog notes just annoys me about how much like the frustration was of those two remastered that we played. It was just like so infuriating playing it because it was like, why? I'm like, because I've recently finished Horizon as well.
Oh yeah,
and I'll give you the realm of this as well. Like what I find with Horizon is it's so big. It's so big. It's so unnecessarily big as well. And like I finished it, got the platinum, got all the trophies, finished the main story, finished the main bulk of the side missions. I'm on 75% completion. So there's like loads of other stuff in the game you can keep playing, accessing. And on top of that, what I found as well is like the more I dug into the game, the more bugs were appearing. Like there'll be like rendering scenes of things like loading slow. This is what I got with like Life is Strange Remastered Collection. It's like I'm sick and tired of developers and publishers putting out games that are broken or are just a complete mess. I'm like, I don't care. I know developers are humans. I know that publishers are humans. Sure. And I know that they have QA teams and whatever else, but I'm getting sick and tired of like this kind of like glossing over in the industry. It's like, we'll just be like, we'll put a patch out. We'll put 1,600 patches out. This is an entire patch map of like things. It's like, this should have been like 3 months or I don't know. I'm not a game developer, but like months of quality assurance testing before we put the product out on the market. This was like my biggest fear with the remastered collection, if anything, was that it could come out like a complete mess, and it is a mess at the minute.
Yeah,
like go on.
No, I was just gonna say it's like it's a shame because, like you said, it is a glossing over, and it's been glossing over for the past 10 years at least. Like at least it's been longer than that. And it's not, and here's the other thing: it's not like us gamers have accepted this glossing over. It's like, oh well, it's like we've hated every time they do it, and yet they keep on doing it. It's like, oh well, we'll put out the patch later, but and it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, we've never liked it. It's never gone over well, especially on Twitter or Reddit or any like Tumblr, I guess. I don't know, but I was never a Tumblr user, just to clarify, so I don't know. But yeah, I don't know why this industry is still going in this way of just doing this. In fact, the Halo community, where y'all at, Halo community, we're all arguing that Halo Infinite should have been even more delayed because there's so many features that are missing. And it's just like, we would have preferred it if Halo Infinite was just delayed instead of no co-op, no Forge, no more like multiplayer maps. Like there's so many things that were missing from Halo Infinite, and we would have actually preferred it to be delayed. Same thing with Remaster, just delay the thing. It would have come out better. I think we've more accepted that a game will be delayed, will become better. I think as a community, we've all come to accept that. And yet publishers are just like, no, it has to be out now. We have to meet the fiscal year. Blah blah blah. Stupid.
Yeah, like this is the issue. Like exactly what you said about Halo as well. It's relevant to like any other game that I play. I'm like, I'd rather just wait for the game to come out and be in a very polished state than play it in its current state and accept it for it. And we've seen this more recently over the years of like games I can like fire off my hand of like Cyberpunk and GTA. I haven't played half of these games, but I know that how following them, how riddled they have been with like issues. And this is the same thing with like Life is Strange. Like they could have released this next year with like and had a gap of like, you know, content for people to feed on. But obviously I feel like the incentive was to package it with true colors and kind of sell that with a, you know, kind of like lure people in, like people who never played the series. Here's true colors and here's all the other Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before Storm. There's obviously some kind of like thinking behind that, or some kind of rationale behind it. The more I actually kind of sit here and kind of think about what they were doing with it. But I'm kind of like I feel like if you're going to play the remaster collection, I'd wait for all the patches to come out.
Oh my God, yeah.
Let it get fixed. Like I just think like it was just annoying seeing stuff like the zombie, you know, a comic design outfit for Chloe not being available at launch.
It was for Xbox, yeah.
Well, yeah. I hope you and the one other person who played Xbox enjoy it, because no one else plays Life is Strange on Xbox.
Honestly, okay. So I want anybody like watching this, listening to this, write in the comments if you or anybody you know besides me played this remaster on Xbox, because I literally go on Twitter and it's just no Xbox, absolutely not. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, but like, I'm actually genuinely curious if like, literally, am I the only one who's playing this on Xbox?
And to anyone listening who looks in the comments as well, if you see like 15 accounts saying that, oh, I play Xbox, it's probably Adam's burner accounts. So like, don't pay attention to it. Obviously,
it's just games of groceries, Evalt, my actual YouTube, just all these ones. It's like, I play it on Xbox.
I might even put it in my own personal one as well. I'll be like, yeah, I play Xbox. But yeah, as I said, no one plays Xbox, so ignore that. But it's kind of relevant that you bring up, like, you know, Adam has the choice to play the outfit. I don't. I'm on a different platform. We're there, obviously, as we said in the actual.
Why was it on Xbox but it wasn't on PlayStation? You know, I understand, and that's a whole like NFT thing. Like assets can't be rendered into two different single games, but I understand that. But this isn't a different game. This is the same game, just on a different platform. Why do I get the zombie outfit on one platform on a previous gen console than another platform? That makes zero sense. I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's baffling. And like, well, NFTs as bad as they get. Like, we don't really need to get. Was it Square Enix who were talking about NFTs maybe coming into video games? I can't remember which.
Everybody's talking about it. In fact, Intellivision's talking about NFTs possibly. So
yeah,
who knows?
Fuck NFTs. I don't support anyone, advocate any person that fucking does it. So we're not talking about NFTs. Hate them, despise them. They're a scam. Yeah. Take that shit out the door. But anyway, back onto actual meaningful conversation. Yeah, so the patch notes, I'm hoping that by the time they get to patch C, the roadmap, what they're doing, that you get all the stuff, and obviously as well 60 frames per second, which in itself, I went back and watched my clip of like me unlocking my platinum for Life is Strange 1, when the car drives off with Chloe and Max. It was like stuttering a little bit, and I was like, oh no. I was like, come on. I was like, why are we not getting it goes back to my argument of like, why are we getting remasters on the same platform they were released, essentially? And like, that's a huge issue. So in itself, wait for the patches, see what happens, then definitely pick it up. The facial animations are quite nice in it, and it does look polished to an extent in certain areas, even though there are quite a lot of flaws. I think you would still enjoy it if you played the series. And I think I always approach it that most people are probably coming into this having played the series. I'd always say to someone, if they were coming in as a newcomer to the series, be like, play the original. I feel like that's the intended vision of something. Have you got anything else to add on before we move on to our next topic?
Don't pre-order games.
Yes.
That's it.
Very, very, very valuable advice. I've known that for a long time. Very few games I ever put a pre-order for in, mainly Metal Gear and Kojima, but
unless it's a skateboarding game. If it's a skateboarding game, then all bets are off. Everybody needs skateboarding games.
Yeah, well, that and Metal Gear and Kojima games.
And Metal Gear.
Yeah.
So there's a few exceptions.
Yeah, I dropped my reference for the episode today, so that's that.
Yeah.
So we will fast forward onto the next segment, which is obviously going to be jumping back to True Colors. So in this point as well, that we now have True Colors released on Nintendo Switch's physical version. So obviously we had the digital release last year in late December.
By the way, when this announcement came out, I actually freaked out because I saw Life is Strange, Nintendo Switch. I'm like, oh, we're getting the remaster on Switch finally? And just like, it's the physical edition. I'm like,
no, it is just the physical version of True Colors. So obviously they released the True Colors Switch version digitally on December last year, which was already pushed back. So obviously we had True Colors released across all other platforms, but this came out in December, and now the physical box version, if you want, of True Colors is now released. No steelbook that I've seen or anything, nothing like the one that I've got or anything.
The Switch games ever get steelbooks ever?
Yes, they do. They do. The Pokemon remakes did, which was a nice little steelbook. You're right. They don't have the same appeal as like PlayStation or Xbox ones. Like I got the Horizon one because I got my collector's edition. The massive collector's edition. If any of you follow me, you'll see my massive statue, which I got. I prefer steelbooks from those kind of ones, and even the True Colors one was okay. I wish maybe they'd gone a bit more. I don't know. It's good. It's good. But yeah, so like this is we've kind of like spoken a bit about the Switch version. Obviously, I haven't played it. I don't own a Switch anymore. Adam doesn't own a Switch. She has that stupid Microsoft console.
I have a Switch.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I have a Switch Lite.
Really?
Yeah.
Why have you not got True Colors? You could have talked about it at this point.
Actually, that's a great point. I remember why, because I was moving. And I was just like saving every little bit because I was like, could I get, because it's $40 on the Switch, yeah?
I'm going to assume so.
I think it's $40. And it was just like, it's not like the biggest expense in the world, but like, I was just like, I'm moving soon and it's a game I already played. I can wait. And like, you know what I mean? It's just like,
wait till it drops like $5. Don't bother paying $40 for that.
No. I'll get it eventually for the Switch just to see it. But Liz is really excited for the Remastered collection on the Switch. That got a release date, didn't it? The little transition there. But did it get a release date?
Well, no. And at this point, I think they're probably trying to hold out because I feel like, was it your prediction or something that this could be a complete mess on Switch, the Remastered collection?
Oh my God. Like I can't imagine. Like, put it this way. We're going through these patch notes for the PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, Stadia, all these different versions, and they're all just complete messes. And you got to imagine how awful it is on Switch right now. My goodness. And I hope they're patching it as they're developing it. Like, I hope these patches are coming out and then like the Switch is coming and like, oh, we got to patch this while we're developing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've obviously my knowledge of the Switch is limited. I had one, but I didn't play it as much. I know that compared to like the way that Nintendo games roll out patches compared to the way that PlayStation ones have, I think that you don't have the same liberty of like kind of just rolling them out on the other major consoles like Xbox and PlayStation compared to Nintendo. Yeah. So I think like you have to be a bit careful with the Switch release. I think it has to come out as complete as it can possibly do. But in itself, I think like True Colors has done well in terms of like the way it's been received on Switch. I've got the Metacritic page here. So at the minute, it's got 13 critical reviews and a 78 overall score. Granted, the publications are some of I've never heard of. It's like Switch Brazil has given it the highest rating of 95. Like, a Nintendo World Report gave it an 85. Nintendo Life gave it 80. Nintendo Life is probably the one that I know off that straight away. Touch Arcade gave it an 80. Tierra Gamer gave it 78. Nintendros gave it 75. What a cool name that is. And Level Up gave it a 65, which is quite low on that. So like there's quite wide ranging spectrum of reviews there on the True Colors Switch version. But I feel like my main concern, if anything, obviously we've got the physical release. If you want to go and get it now on physical, which I always say to people, you should buy physical games. Always buy them physical, because as you've seen many over the many years now, we've seen with PlayStation closing stores down, Nintendo closing catalogs down, whatever. Buy your games physically.
Oh my God. The shame of Nintendo to just be like, yeah, we don't really care about game preservation. Screw you guys.
And for a publisher of Nintendo's caliber with the games that it produces, this is why like people got really edgy with Sony doing, because it's like, why are you not preserving some of this stuff? Obviously, it's I know I get the reasoning behind obviously now closing that the PSP store. The console's so old, but like some of them, they're just like leaving them to pasture. I think like with the Vita, for example, developers were making games for it still when they were trying to shut down the store. I was like, wait a minute, what? And they like still actively making games for it. It's like, wait a minute, it's just I'm a firm believer of like game preservation, especially in this kind of thing.
The worst part is that like Nintendo, and that's the last point I'll make because get back to Life is Strange, but like the worst part about that whole Nintendo statement is that like saying like, oh, we have zero plans to port it over to the Switch. And I'm like, it is free money. Nintendo literally just will rebuy the same games over and over and over again, $10 each, and it's the same game. It is free money. I don't understand that on a business sense, but I'm not the president of Nintendo. I'm just a barista, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Because obviously they're making millions, and I can't really question it as the man that I'm sitting here on YouTube with you. And it's like thinking about, I will reiterate that they could probably make a lot more money with what they've got. Like, let's be real. Like we're sitting here as consumers. I think when you see it from a consumer's perspective, you do see like a lot more money you can make. So yeah, bring it back onto Life is Strange. Obviously, now you can get the physical version, and obviously we still don't have a release date for the remastered collection of Switch, which I think we'll be covering closer to the time and seeing what actually comes from that.
Yeah, Liz is very bummed about that because her quotes, and it's like, I just want to watch reality television and play Life is Strange. Is that too much to ask? she wants to play on the Switch, look up, and just see like I don't know, HDTV and other Netflix things. I don't know. I don't keep up with what she watches.
Well, I feel like Liz is very on point with those, because I feel like she's just give us a perfect segue about reality television in some kind of capacity, because we're going to move to TV, which is that Life is Strange is getting its TV adaptation, but potentially coming to Amazon Studios. So I'm going to take you to, we're going to Collider here. So Amazon Studios closed the first look deal with DJ2 Entertainment to dive into the world of video game adaptations, and two of the titles that could soon be adapted are Life is Strange and Disco Elysium. DJ2 is one of the production companies behind the surprising hit Sonic the Hedgehog, which is getting a sequel this year and a spin-off series in 2023. According to the new deal, DJ2 will offer Amazon Studios the opportunity to pick up any film or TV show they come up with to stream exclusively on the Prime Video service. Since DJ2 is specialized in video game adaptations, players will get the chance to see some of their favorite titles turned into series. What's even greater news is that DJ2 is currently working to adapt the Square Enix published franchise Life is Strange and indie developer Zamu hit Disco Elysium. I don't know if I butchered their name there, but we'll move on. There is an ad appearing over that next part of that text, so I'll move across that. And yeah, so I'm going to skip a lot of that because otherwise you probably just turn off. There's a lot of news there. Unpackaging, press quotes.
Yes.
This is the TV show that's been banged on about for years. This is a TV show question that I was using at the end of every other previous Life After Strange episode in the earlier format, when I asked people like, who would they cast for the Life is Strange TV show adaptation of their character.
By the way, I just want to correct myself. Life is Strange True Colors on the Switch is $60. 60.
So there we have a correction. Adam spouting around fake facts. But anyway, so we have
American. We love our fake information. So,
so this is coming off the news that we did have a bit more recently about them kind of giving a bit more that the project wasn't dead. They kind of like said, I'll let you take Ashley. Let me quickly look up something. How do you feel about this?
So for one, so on a personal note, I just recently canceled my Amazon Prime accounts only because Amazon Prime is raising its prices for its Prime members. They're raising the prices by, I don't want to spend fake information again twice in one podcast, but I'm pretty sure it's 20% higher than ever before, even though Amazon has itself made record profits this year. So they're raising the price, but they made record profits. I'm like, no, I'm done with Amazon. Even though, so here's the thing. I think Amazon it's raising its prices because they know they're getting some hard hitters to its Prime account. I mean, they already had some pretty heavy hitters in terms of Jack Ryan. Jack Ryan was a decent show. I liked it a lot. But now they're getting a Lord of the Rings series, which I'm going to miss out on, and I don't care because screw Amazon. Now it's going with Life is Strange, Disco Elysium. I think there's another Amazon series that's coming out pretty soon.
Well, I've heard news that there's a BioShock TV show that could be happening.
That's the rumor.
And when we came on today, before we came on, there's news that broke about a God of War live adaptation TV series coming
to Amazon Prime. I
don't know if it's to Amazon Prime, but I just saw that before we jumped on that there is a live TV show, a live action TV show they're going to do on it.
It's like we're in a competition of just picking up picking up IPs to make television series, just to sustain their platform, to get those fans onto their service. Like Life is Strange fans are like, oh man, I didn't get a Prime account, I need to watch the Life is Strange series. Same thing with Paramount Plus. Halo, anybody for Halo? But the Halo television series was originally going to be a Showtime. It was going to be originally a Showtime show, and then who picked it up? It's our good friends Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus, of course, wants all the Halo fanboys to come in. Like, oh no, come into Paramount Plus. It's kind of wild to me that they're kind of like trying to gather fans of these series. Whether the show is going to be good or not, I don't know. But the whole aim for this is to get you on their platform, even though Amazon raised their prices and does not care about their employees. So
yeah, you're right. Because like, let me just feed you two things. So I went to quickly get this piece of information from Games Radar because it wasn't in the actual Collider article. So fans of the choice-based game were first made aware of the TV adaptation back in 2016, with DJ2 gaining rights for the production in 2017. Since then, not much else was known about the show has been revealed other than the fact that singer-songwriter Shawn Mendes was attached to write the music for the series, as well as act as executive producer. So that's the extra information I wanted, because obviously that fills in.
Shawn Mendes for the Life is Strange series?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting choice. Okay.
Yeah, it's not
behind that.
Yeah, it's not Sid Matt. It's not Sid Matt as a daughter, but
no, but like I could get. I don't like Shawn Mendes, but I understand that choice.
So that's an interesting part of it. And on top of that, what you're saying about all the content stuff is quite interesting, because obviously 3 days ago, we're recording the 7th of March, Web tweeted something, Web Pickersgill, who's the Life is Strange True Colors performance director and Before the Storm co-director. So let me just read you what he said, which is quite interesting. Anyone else in content overload, quote unquote, originals from Netflix, Hulu, Apple, Disney, Paramount, etc. It's overloading. I'm sure they're all good, quote unquote, to some extent, but I find myself scrolling content to watch, but ultimately picking nothing. Am I the only one? Question mark.
Yeah. No, it's just because here's the problem with all these streaming services coming out right now. It's becoming a self-eating snake, right? Yeah. That snake keeps getting larger and larger until it starts eating itself. So the whole aim for Netflix, Hulu, all these people was to cut cable, right? And they did that mission, but then everybody wanted a little bit of a piece of the cookie now. Now
they're sorry, let me interrupt you. They're cannibalizing each other.
Yeah, exactly. They're just cannibalizing each other. It's now like a competition against themselves. At first, it was a competition against cable television, which I personally believe they succeeded. I've cut my cable out of the picture. I'm now a Hulu Live subscriber. I think it's great. I think, okay, I'll give you this. I think PlayStation Live TV was better. I wish that stayed. PlayStation Live TV was phenomenal. I loved it, but then it went away. So they cut the cable, but now it's just so many that he can't keep up with. And it's just like, now they're just like, oh, we got this one. We got this one. And now video game people. Now we got this. Who bought Oxenfree? I think, didn't Netflix buy Night School Studios? I think it was Netflix.
Is even Netflix or Amazon?
Maybe. It's one of the two.
Yeah. You look that up, because what you're saying is like my example of where I stand with streaming services. They're all consuming each other, and this is why like Xbox Games Pass is so great in so many people's eyes. But wait until it gets consumed up by something else. They won't give you all that great content all the time, because like look at what you get on Netflix. You only get one big special that they make, and then all the filler content. They give you like loads of recycled films and TV shows, which you could probably pick up for like $1 if you went down to like a DVD shop. They just give you stuff like
Netflix acquired Nice School Studios.
So it's Netflix that acquired it. So like this is something quite interesting. I mean, move the conversation a little bit to Life is Strange in itself. The TV show should have been produced in 2015 when it was at its huge peak, when it was like when it took off. It should have been really put into development straight away and got it out there as soon as possible, because it still had like a period with BTS and stuff. They had like you know, quite a lot of room to kind of work with it. It was weird that it just never picked up, because like in itself, Life is Strange is such an easy adaptation to TV show. Like, come on, it's got every, like, whether you're going from whether it's 1 to Before the Storm, or even True Colors, they're so easy to adapt in any way, shape, or form. And even if you wanted to do an original within the Life is Strange universe, that is also quite achievable. So like that is something that's quite possible. And I'm in two minds with this actually, because I'm like, one, I don't really care for it at this point, because like there's all kinds of like teen dramas and whatever else with the shows you can do at Amazon, or you can do whatever shows. But two, I'm starting to notice that this is the trend of the industry. So they're putting emphasis on moving, finally getting past that like ball period of like really crap films that were made from video games, and try and make them in something. So like even with because obviously I went to watch the Uncharted movie because I got my free ticket. So I went and watched it, and you could tell it was so like, this wasn't made for someone who's actually a fan of. Well, they'd probably say that it was made for the fans of video games. It's not. It's like watching a really bad version of Indiana Jones, and like, and they've already known that it's made so much money. This Uncharted film, right? That PlayStation.
You just reminded me. It's like the Assassin's Creed film when the guy's like, "Oh, I love the Assassin's Creed games," and I watched the movie. I'm like, "This is just garbage."
It's terrible.
Like I hate. Yeah,
because I remember that's something. Because someone they released the trailer of the Kanye West music and it didn't fit at all. And then someone uploaded it back to YouTube, removed the Kanye West music and put Ezio's theme in there. And it was like I think that trailer got so many views, and it was like, that's what gamers wanted to see. Not specifically Ezio's theme, but the Assassin's Creed theme, the theme that they make that really kind of stands out, whether it's from Ezio to Altair, whoever. So like, like Assassin's Creed, for example, I think Ubisoft tried very early days and really failed with it, but like PlayStation is trying now. Like PlayStation had their own kind of like new animation that appeared before Uncharted was like PlayStation Studios. So like, and don't think that they're not going to do it with Horizon. Obviously the news of the God of War that they're doing, but like they will look into this, because like they want to expand beyond just obviously video games, get the wider appeal out there. And I think,
here's a funny thing though. I think the two PlayStation made television shows are going to succeed the most out of all of these, because PlayStation, by two I mean Last of Us and this God of War live action, because PlayStation is so good in narrative stories that it does play well into television. I could definitely see a God of War live action series, but the fact of this Halo TV series, it's not going to work, because one, it's not canon, and two, it's just, I don't know.
Is this the Halo TV series that was being produced way back many years ago and Spielberg was attached to it? Yep. Oh my God. Oh my, that's still not out.
It's still not out, but it's coming out on Paramount Plus. I want to say this year.
Is Steven still attached to the project?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can't remember now because I've totally lost like interested in it. I'm like, I stopped following it. I'm like, but and then as soon as Halo, it's like the producer said like, oh, it's not canon. I'm like, that's so stupid. Then why would I watch it then? You know, like if it's not canon, then it's just a regular TV show. Who cares?
Yeah,
you know?
like I feel like that's the kind of like what you said with The Last of Us. Like they obviously timed it very well. Like Sony, like it's getting out on HBO, but that comes out with the unnecessary remake of The Last of Us that they're doing. So they're gonna try and they try and capitalize on these different things. The same with Uncharted. It's like, here's the Uncharted collection on PS5. Get it, you can get it, and you also get free cinema tickets. Go and watch that film. So it's like obviously to get people out there, just kind of see it. They might drag a +1 or something. It's it's easy marketing for that. Go on.
I was just going to say, going back to Life is Strange, though, I don't think it will succeed as a TV show, mostly because without choices that we make, it just becomes another teen drama. Like you were saying before, it becomes another teen drama, but then it's called Life is Strange, especially if it has brand new characters. If it's not Max or Chloe or Sean and Daniel or Pompidou, if it's got none of these characters, then all it is just another teen drama. Yeah, and it won't work.
This is like one of the arguments that goes to the comic series, the Vicelli comic series arc. Like, obviously, when you take choice away from it, then you're just reading a drama. And it's like, I can see why people don't like it. I know some people really don't like it.
But the defense of that is that, like my point before, it's with Max and Chloe. Like we got our
and Rachel. People don't like that, but people don't like that. But yeah, and Rachel.
But like it follows characters we know. At least we got an epilogue. You know, it served its purpose. You know, it definitely served that purpose of saying that, like, oh, this is what the story does afterwards. But if it's brand new characters, if it's no characters that we ever know, what does it become? It's just another Netflix drama. That's it.
It's also crafted for its platform as well, because it's a comic series. You can't put choices in it. What are you going to do, like 4 or 5 pages where you pull one out and you get a different choice?
Like turn to page 45. It's like, oh no, what was it from The Simpsons? It's just like, oh, I'll go to page 45. Oh, you didn't see that.
And it's like, you could do choice. Do you remember the Black Mirror episode where you can pick choices?
Yes.
But I wasn't a fan of it, though. Obviously, Charlie Brooker comes from a big gaming background. And obviously, this, it's littered within Black Mirror. But I remember doing it. I was like, I don't feel right about this. When I sit there to watch TV, I sit there to appreciate what I'm seeing. It's a drama. It's action.
Yeah, I like the novelty of it. But if you told me, like, is it a good game or anything of it? Like, oh, no, it's not great. But, like, I like the novelty of it. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing with like what I see with TV. I don't see it with the experience of going there with, like, my PlayStation controller, like pressing things. I want to watch when I'm watching certain things on certain platforms. If I'm watching a film, watching a video game, watching a TV, I'm watching certain things that are built in certain kind of ways. And like obviously, video games have been able to evolve over time. It's still it's still very the youngest out of the 3 of them as well. As like an industry, so it's going to have to keep evolving. But I don't go with the expectation to see a TV show with like me being able to pick if I can like feed Pompidou or something like in a Life is Strange TV show on Amazon. Like, what am I going to get from that? It's just a bit weird for that. So like, I'm not really. I would watch it if it's being done, but I'm like my demand for it is nowhere near as much as it was in 2015. I can see why there's a room for it, because obviously this phase of video game movie adaptations and TV, film, whatever form is going to continue. And obviously, Square Enix is going to be looking at like, we need to kind of get this off the ground if possible. And obviously, Jeff Bezos' Amazon Prime is looking at ways to expand and get more catalog, because it's competing with the big boys. And it's got Amazon Prime does offer some good stuff in Prime Video, but it's still lacking to kind of tackle on what Netflix is doing. They're all cannibalizing each other, the industry at this point. You're going to get to the point where you'll get burnt out from it. It's like with Disney Plus off charging so much a year, and people will just turn away from it eventually. This is like the next phase of this.
Because it's too many to subscribe to. It's too much money.
And you won't watch them either. Like I have a Netflix account, and I wouldn't have it if my brother and sister didn't use it. I barely use it as much. Yeah, and like that in itself is such a thing where I'm like thinking like I should cancel it now, because like they this new kind of model where we get really deep philosophical, but like the new model is like people hook you. They want you to get. It goes back all the way to your mobile contracts, to your TV contracts and stuff. They want you to get hooked on subscription because you don't cancel them, because you never cancel them, because you'll moan, you'll complain, but you'll very rarely ever cancel something. So when you get hooked on it, that's what you do. And that's why, for example, Xbox is running the Games Pass system. So that's not making them money yet, but they're obviously trying to get people hooked onto a service where you're basically paying every single month for Games Pass, and you can kind of like, access it. But in itself, the return is obviously not hugely there. So yeah, I feel like I've said my piece on that, Adam, and I don't know if you have anything else to add before we move on to the next topic.
Screw Jeff Bezos.
And screw Jeff Bezos. He's not the worst person on the planet, I'll tell you that. And there's definitely other people that are worse. But anyway, we're going to stick with Life is Strange to an extent, because we are going back to the OG Life is Strange developers, Dontnod Entertainment. So we got news from them not long ago, which has big plans to release 6 games by the end of 2025. Obviously, we knew that they were working on a lot of projects. They've obviously mentioned this, but they've actually gone full scope now at home. So we're going to Games Radar with this. So it's Life is Strange developer Dontnod has revealed ambitious plans to release several games across the next few years, though it hasn't said what any of them are. The Parisian company, which recently opened a subsidiary studio in Montreal. Hello, Luke. Hello, Michelle. That's not in the article, by the way. That's me. Has 6 in-house projects on the go. They are all expected to launch between 2022 and 2025. Announcing the news in a business review, Dontnod emphasized a commitment to its 2 greatest successes, Life is Strange and Vampire. So Oscar Gilbert, who's the CEO of Dontnod, said, and I quote, "In 4 years, our royalties have increased 5-fold to reach a record level in 2021. This dynamic is notably linked to the success of Life is Strange and Vampire, which we intend to continue to capitalize on. It is therefore natural that we decide to accelerate our investments in the development capacities of new games that will follow in the same vein, both in the multi-project hub in Montreal and the RPG hub in Paris, end quote. So this year, the developer intends... Oh, actually, we'll go into that. We're going to keep that separate for a minute. So here's some extra things. And this was in the fiscal report, which I Dontnod released. I read it last night when I was in bed. So if you ever wonder what I'm reading late at night, I'm obviously reading Dontnod's fiscal report for 2021.
Obviously, why wouldn't you?
Exactly. So like in this as well. So despite lukewarm reviews on release, Vampire is Dontnod's biggest ever financial success alongside Life is Strange 1, and has apparently enjoyed a second wind with 2 million copies sold since 2018. And a further 8 million free downloads via Epic Store. The developer has strong base of public awareness upon which to build a potential sequel. It has to be said too that Vampire's Spanish flu era backdrop has only become more relevant with time, which obviously
oh, that's true. That's true.
I haven't played it yet. It's in my backlog because obviously it was free.
You
on
haven't
PS
played
Plus.
Vampire?
No, it's in my backlog PS Plus games. So I will.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good, man. I appreciated it. It's I don't remember liking the combats, but I remember just loving the game altogether.
Yeah, it's I will play it this year because I'm definitely gonna get to it. But here's the interesting part, because I read this in the fiscal report actually, which they put in Games Radar. So notably though, 2020's narrative adventure game Twin Mirror hasn't done so well, with Dontnod covering only 75% of its investments in the project.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in a quote, it says, in a market that is globally saturated by the end of 2021 and is penalized by the sudden closure of the Chinese market, the company believes that Twin Mirror will only generate a marginal level of revenue in the future. So in itself, let me just quickly pick two things apart. Obviously, Life is Strange and Vampire being its biggest successes. Both of those are publishers with them involved, Focus Home and Square Enix. Obviously, the big one is Life is Strange. I think Life is Strange definitely seems to be more successful for what it was. And obviously, Focus Home is a big powerhouse publisher. And the one that they've published themselves, Twin Mirror, hasn't succeeded as well as they thought it would.
Yeah, but like, I also blame the marketing for that game because like
but this is what I was going to go on to next. So here's the other issue with it. Do you remember we were talking about obviously like marketing for Dontnod Montreal's game? Do you remember how much emphasis we were putting on it? Do you remember how I was saying like, can they put from the creators of Life is Strange on there? Just think about like what we've seen from Dontnod so far. So obviously Life is Strange 1 and 2 from Square Enix, Vampire from Focus Home Interactive. Was it called Twin Mirror from Dontnod itself, published itself. And the other one, which was the one that we talked about in your podcast, was obviously Tell Me Why, which was published by Microsoft. We said it was never going to be a Microsoft. It never looks like a title that would be on Microsoft platform, but it's on Microsoft platform. And obviously Microsoft must have bankrolled quite big on it. So that is a very interesting spectrum of games, because obviously this is a studio that has an interesting history with its very early failed success with Remember Me. Not a bad game by any stretch of imagination, but commercial flop. And when you get into bed with Capcom, you have to sell units, because they look at Resident Evil sales figures and they're like, they're not that great. And it's like, no, wait a minute, that did well, but because they're a certain kind of publisher, you have to sell units in like a high capacity. It's not like a Sony where you can get away with it.
Oh yeah,
because Sony will bin off games. They've done it with Days Gone, and same with Microsoft. They'll bin off games if they need to, but you have to be careful. So like this is a big period for Dontnod for me, from 2022 to 2025 of releasing these 6 games. I can see the way that the developer's publishing structuring itself, because it wants to be the publisher. We talked about it publishing Gerda, it's trying to make waves in the company, and unfortunately as well, it has got itself in bed with Tencent, which I fucking still despise as well. I stand very firm on my views in Tencent, even though I love Dontnod. I will say that. But yes, this is where my concern is. So I'll let you go back to it. Tell me a bit more Vampire. So you actually enjoyed it?
I did. And that's the thing. I don't want to spoil too much of the game, but yeah, I think the game flowed well. I think it had great. I think it had phenomenal, not side missions. What I'm talking about, just like the quest dialogue and the actual features of the game. There's certain things that you can do, activate. It's a well-made RPG. I should say it's more of like an action adventure. So the whole term of RPG, I got into a video about it in Evalt where just like it's not exactly an RPG, it's more of like RPG elements within the game.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it in the terms of like the narrative was pretty good, but I think it was just a fun game altogether, all throughout. And it was kind of like a surprise hit. I didn't think that Vampire would do that well because you'll play Vampire, right? You'll play Vampire and you're just thinking like, this is a good game. This is fine. I don't think it's going to do well because it's a very niche thing. It's a very, a Spanish flu, but you're a vampire doctor, and it's got RPG elements. You don't think it's going to really hit really home with a lot of people, but it did apparently more than Twin Mirror did, which again, with the sales of Twin Mirror, I'm not shocked because it wasn't really marketed that well. Vampire, on the other hand, I think was marketed pretty well. Like I think we all heard about it. We were all hyped for it. They put out some great explanations of the game as it was coming out. I thought, the marketing for Vampire did it justice, and I don't think it was ever clickbait. I think we got what was being shown to us. That's all I got to say. I don't want to spoil anything because it's like I want you to experience it. You know what I mean?
No, so like, no, I agree with what you're saying because I was looking at Vampire before I came on here, obviously having read all fiscal reports and stuff.
Sure.
And it seemed like the kind of game that I really like, which is weird because it's like sitting in the backlog. And
you would because of Horizon Forbidden West. You like those RPG elements. You like, narrative stories. I think you would actually click well with it, especially because you like Metal Gear. I'm not saying exactly like Metal Gear, but it has elements. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, like it's like I obviously like the setting of it. The kind of like it does look a bit niche, like the way they kind of marketing and like the setting and stuff. It's not really a huge appeal to it. Because I think I saw someone actually say like they should set like the next Assassin's Creed game in Algeria. And I'm like, well, yeah, you get on the marketing team and tell me how you can sell an Assassin's Creed game in Algeria. I would love. I'm not against it being in Algeria, but I'm like, there are certain we need to get in a place to sell a certain game, and Algeria ain't going to be the biggest selling setting.
The next one, and they have to do this to save themselves. The Assassin's Creed, feudal Japan, like they have to. Like at that point, you have to.
That's a long overdue for.
It is, yeah. I know it has everything to do with a white man's DNA. I understand that, but like now they've gotten far away from Desmond. Like they're not even talking about Desmond anymore. They're just talking about random DNA strands. So they could totally do anything they want, which they did. They did Egypt, they did Greece, they did Vikings. They could do literally whatever they want. But to save the series, excuse me, it's going to be feudal Japan.
Yeah, or they should remake the first game and restart from a very fresh slate. But I'm catching up slowly in Assassin's Creed, trying to catch up where they're at the minute. But onto like actual Dontnod, it's like those kind of like it's very interesting when you paint the picture of like where the companies are, what's selling well, what isn't selling well. Because let me kind of give you something else. I went and got one of the press releases. So on Business Evolution 2021, they said for the 2021 fiscal year, Dontnod Entertainment is expected to post strong growth in its royalties, which should increase by 52% to 5.7 million euros, thanks to, and obviously they mentioned Twin Mirror in this, but the first one was an excellent back catalogue performance driven by Vampire, which has sold over 2 million copies worldwide since its June 2018 release. The popularity of the title remained very strong in 2021 with the 8 million downloads on Epic Games Store. This co-production, which will be fully on blah blah blah. Oh yeah, so this is the studio's biggest financial success to date, alongside Life is Strange 1. So in itself, I remember Life is Strange 1 selling 1 million copies quite early on in its development, and that an example in itself where you're like looking at like, right, Vampire has done really well, and obviously with the help of Focus Home Interactive, it's done wonders for them. But obviously, like as I said, 6 games in development. Realistically, maybe a Tell Me Why 2, which will probably be doing a collaboration with Microsoft again, so they'll work with them. Vampire 2, realistically, or some kind of weird sequel to it. So that's obviously,
I thought the composer for a Vampire, Olivier, I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but the composer for that, he put out a tweet a while ago saying that like kind of hinting that he's putting out another soundtrack for another game. Turned out to be Dying Light 2, but it sounded a little bit like Vampire 2. I was like, oh, Vampire 2, and it's like Dying Light 2. I was like, I don't care about that. It's like, I don't care. I like his music, but I don't care about that.
Yeah, I think that will be enough one. Obviously, we have our Dontnod Montreal crew. We were working on something, which I think that will be a big one that Dontnod will try and sell.
I think so, especially with 6 games.
But we don't know who they're in bed with, though. The Dontnod Montreal crew. Are they self-publishing this game? Is it with another publisher? Who are they working with? Like I say, the details are so scarce on that project right now. What they're doing, it's like we're trying to sit here and work out what they're doing, and obviously like what's going on. And in itself, like all those games that are now, so obviously Dontnod Montreal, Tell Me Why 2, Vampire. Those are just 3 games that I said like maybe have sequels and like those kind of things. So we obviously have 3 more games in there.
Sure,
which we have no idea what's going on there. Whether they try to like, I don't know if they're obviously going to do another Twin Mirror, which doesn't seem likely, but like you've got 3 more games that we don't know about, and it's like who's working on who? Are they working on a Life is Strange game? Could that possibly be a reality? Could it? But could it, Adam? Though
see, now the tables have turned, Adnan. You can't be doing this to me. I get the little conspiracy theories, and you're like, oh, Adam, no, that you're sounding like a right git. Oh no,
but you have to think about it because it's like in itself, like the way that obviously people kept reacting to the news with Dontnod and Life is Strange and Square Enix was so ridiculous. I was like, why are people making this a big story? Like the IP belongs to Square Enix. Dontnod are like, we're going to go, the core team that worked on that Life is Strange, we're going to move on. But like I said before, where is Raoul Barbet? Like that's the big question. Because obviously you have to imagine Michel's last 2 games that he made have been co-directed with Raoul Barbet. So in itself, maybe someone at Dontnod thought, we'll take the 2 directors, split them. We'll send obviously Michel to Canada and like with Luke and set up the studio. Not that they don't like him, but like, to send him to Montreal, set a studio up there, get the new game working. But obviously we'll keep Raoul here and he'll work on his own game, lead it, and maybe do it in some kind of thing. So obviously like that's, what's he working on? Do we know where he is? Is he in Canada? He's not got social media presence. It's like, I'm so like figuring, but like, you have to question what those 3 remaining. Oh, even me saying that they could be making Vampire 2, that might not be happening. But there's 3 games there that I can't figure out what they're working on. So in itself, like who are they working for? Are they self-published? Are they published with a big publisher? Who are the developers on it?
I really hope they are making a Twin Mirror 2 because I think Twin Mirror deserves to be played. It's such a good. It is really good. I enjoyed Twin Mirror. I know they're not because it was a flop. It was straight up a flop. But like, I think the game should get a second chance. I loved the mechanics of it. I thought the setting was great. I thought the characters were decently written, and I think that a second game of that deserves it. But I'll never get it. I'll never get that or Sleeping Dogs 2. I'll never get it.
Oh no, don't. Sleeping Dogs 2 is a sore subject. I fucking love that game. If you have never played Sleeping Dogs, go and play it. It is not
another Square Enix.
It is not Asian GTA as people say. It is actually it is a great game. Go and buy it. Give it what it deserves. But in itself, you're talking from the perspective of a game where it's like, I'd love to see Twin Mirror 2. We're not seeing Twin Mirror 2. Not after what I've read in the fiscal report. Because like in itself, did you read Square Enix's fiscal report? What it said about Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, I was busy moving.
Well, I would tell you that they didn't forecast the strong predictions.
Oh, no, I did read that part. Like I read like reports of that. But like, here's the thing: Square Enix is never satisfied, ever. Like they're never satisfied. Now they weren't satisfied with Babylon's Fall, but Babylon's Fall was a hot garbage fire.
Yeah, but when you take a risk as a publisher like that, there's certain things that will sell for them. The one big one is obviously Final Fantasy. It's a huge system. It's a huge seller of units for that. But other games like that, they're taking a risk with it. And if Guardians isn't selling as big as they think, because obviously they're basically maybe on the perception of what it's done in the film world and all the MCU, like, and it's not selling.
I think it didn't really sell well because of Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers really hurt a Marvel game,
and Square Enix as well.
Yeah, it ruined them. It straight up ruined them. Which is unfortunate, but like that's what it does. It loses trust in a company and it loses trust in an IP. So like take for example, like let's say, I don't know if Halo 4 was just a hot mess garbage fire. Did anybody buy Halo 5? Yes, they did. But, not many people enjoyed it. It loses trust in certain things,
Yeah. And on top of that as well, when the IP gets damaged, it goes on the shelf. Nothing is untouchable. IPs, even Life is Strange. If Life is Strange starts selling poorly, do you not think Square Enix might put it on hold for a bit? Do you think they're going to start churning out more games? And the same with
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. BioWare put Mass Effect on ice for a very long time because
Dead Rising.
Dead Rising, they put that on ice. Yeah, straight up. And I think that if Life is Strange True Colors didn't do well, and I think I think True Colors did just well enough where it wasn't put on. Yeah, it did well.
Yeah,
but we're talking in Square Enix's eyes. Yeah. We're not talking in anybody like else's eyes, but in Square Enix's eyes, you know what I mean? Like, it did just well enough for Square Enix to be like, okay, we'll give you a shot. We got you. But, other than that, I think it would have been put on ice after True Colors if it didn't do, the numbers that they wanted or expected. I don't think they expected Life is Strange True Colors to do really anything. And then it did something. It gave a heartbeat, and it's like, oh, okay, it's good.
Yeah, I think like there's like a lot of to kind of unpackage with what they don't have games like, because it's ambitious. Well, 6 games between 2022 to 2025.
Yeah,
after a period of pandemic and stuff.
Do you imagine that if we're going on the range of 2022 to 2025, the 3-year span, Dontnod Montreal, do you think that's the last game to be revealed in 2025? Like, do you think that's going to be like the big finisher?
See, that's like we'll come on to that actually, because there's actually a topic later on. We'll put it in there, but it's an interesting question because that's my perception has changed very early on from the other episode that we did when we talked about it. So we'll come back to that because I've broken it away, but it's a good question.
Oh yeah.
What I'd ask you is those 5 games that we take out from, if we take out that one though, how would you release them in this 3-year window? Are you just dropping them? Are you firing them like a scattergun? Like what?
Well, we don't know like the actual range because mathematically speaking, 2 a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair, but it could be it could be 4 this year. And then the last one comes out in 2025. Like it literally could mean anything. How I would release it, I think I would release 1 in 2022, just 1. That's it. That's all we really need just to get like the range flowing because out of the pandemic era. And then I would release 3 in 2023. I would release 3 in 2023, making that 4 because we're coming out of a pretty mild year. Let's put it that way, because Elden Ring is the only thing we're talking about right now. And it's March, I don't think. And here's the other thing. The next game is going to be Kirby. Kirby's going to be the big talking point. And that's not even going to be, I think Elden Ring is going to outpass that because Elden Ring was so big. We might be talking about Pokemon this year, but kind of an off year. So just release 1 this year. Release 3 in 2023 because that's when video games are really going to ramp up again, honestly. And then I would release maybe 1 in 2024 and then 1 in 2025. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think like my kind of strategy would be, my strategy would be a bit different. I would release the 2 per year, but I would do one that's done with the publisher.
Okay.
And then do one that's self-published because I don't know. Obviously, I'm predicting that there's 3 publishers involved in here and 3 of them are independently done. So if in that format, I'd try and do it with like the covering of costs. Like obviously, if I get into bed with Microsoft for Tell Me Why 2, they're paying a lot of money for that, aren't they? Come on, like we know that.
Oh, we don't even know if they're going to be like console exclusives either. So I could release my 3, and one of them is an exclusive, and then the other 2 are just,
I think there's going to be very few exclusives in there. I think maybe if there's a Tell Me Why 2, then I think that's the exclusive. The other ones will be made across platform. I think the one that the Montreal crew are making is probably cross-platform. I don't see that being any way, shape, or form because I don't know in the position where I can see the way that the studio's going. It wants to become a publisher with a development team. It wants to essentially become like Square Enix, a big publisher with like a development team inside that can make games and kind of like spew them out. It's very early for it though. This is where they kind of like the process hits. And then when it's like Twin Mirror wasn't marketed well for me.
No, it wasn't.
It was like if you were a Dontnod fan and you like Life is Strange stuff, you'd follow Dontnod and what they're covering. But Twin Mirror never got the commercial appeal. This is like when I said about the them plug in the Montreal game, like get them out Games Award, get them out whatever, like try and get out as much as to people, because like, if I feel like what the French team make at the Dontnod are very specific to certain people and it resonates with them, and then you eventually have like a standout that kind of like hits out, and it has to be certain circumstances as well. Like they even said in like with Vampire, obviously the pandemic is a big factor to kind of swing into that. Putting it on the Epic Game Store with a free release, like loads of people downloading it, XYZ, PlayStation Plus. Obviously, I think when you put games on PlayStation Plus, you must get a big sizable cut from Sony or something.
Sure.
So obviously they're looking at ways to kind of expand it, and then Vampire's established itself. And as I said before, Focus Home is there as well to give it a bit more focus in the direction of marketing. So like that's fine for them. I'm just kind of like curious of how these 6 games are, and like because we just don't know what they are yet. So like,
they literally could be any IP, but like we only know it's Life is Strange and Vampire. That's it. That's the only IPs we know.
None of them are announced. We know that obviously Luc, Michel, the Montreal crew are making a narrative game. We know there's an RPG game in development, but nothing has a specific title. So we don't know if it's an actually established game that they've already worked on. Is it a brand new IP? Is it Life is Strange 4? No, I'm joking.
Here's the other thing though. How many of the 6 are Life is Strange games? I'm thinking 2. I think they're going to go off of the Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before the Storm, kind of like a little spin-off, and that counts as a game. I think here's the thing. They say 6 games, and I think they're saying that in a way of just like technicalities. Like technically it's a game release. Like we didn't lie. I mean, I think 2 of them are going to be Life is Strange games.
No, my belief is that the next game has to be developed by Deck9. The Deck9 crew is kind of like taking the helm of this, but
it could be mobile games.
Maybe the only thing that makes me feel like it could be a Life is Strange game at Dontnod, potentially low key worked on, is if Raoul Barbet is there. I don't think they would make it without Raoul Barbet there, because obviously if Michel, Luc, and the other people are drifting off and they don't have the kind of like selling point of the Life is Strange game from developers who have previously made it, I think it's going to really hit murky water for that, because I think like it'll just be one of those. So and I don't know, maybe Dontnod is done with it, but I think like if anything, it could be a game that's being developed with Square Enix, and that maybe. But like I said, we're probably gonna have to wait to see what's going to actually happen, because like we don't know anything about these games. So from what I know, there's an RPG game and a narrative game coming.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know anything. We literally don't know anything, and it could be. And that's the thing. There's so many technicalities they could do. Like I said, they could do 2 Life is Strange games, and one of them is technically a game. One of them could be a mobile game. One of them could be an NFT game. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's just like, no, it's Dontnod. It's not going to be an NFT. Absolutely not. But it literally could be anything. And all they said was Life is Strange. I think technically the report said, all it said was just saying that like, oh, Vampire and Life is Strange did well. So we're going to release 6 games. Did they actually use the wording saying that like one of these games will be a Life is Strange or Vampire, or they just acknowledged that these types of games do well? You know what I mean? They
basically acknowledge that those 2 are the big sellers for them so far, and that the games that they're making in vein of it, in terms of like an RPG and narrative game, which we know that there's an RPG game in development and a narrative game from Dontnod Montreal. So obviously,
and that's the thing. Like, there's so many technicalities that could go forward, and I don't want to get my hopes up for anything, because there's so many things that they could just swing around, because it's such a vague statement. 6 games in the next 3 years, and these are 2 nice games, and it could mean literally anything.
Indeed. Should we cut into the next topic? Because I feel like we can focus on one thing. So obviously, again, it's coming the fiscal report. This is going to be from Dontnod and Focus Entertainment's next RPG will, quote unquote, ramp up development this year. This is from Gaming Bolt. So they've written, Dontnod Entertainment has largely been known for its excellent narrative-driven adventure titles like Life is Strange and Tell Me Why. But the French studio has had some success in other genres as well. Back in 2018, the developer partnered with publisher Focus Entertainment, then known as Focus Home Interactive. I didn't realize they changed the name, okay. For action RPG Vampire. And following the success, it was announced in April 2019 that the 2 companies would be partnering up for another game. Updates, obviously that pretty much for me is an indication that there's a sequel for Vampire, but it could be anything. We don't know. Updates on that project have since been scanned, but it seems it's moving full steam ahead. In a report outlining the company's outlook for 2022, Dontnod confirmed that it would be ramping up development on the Focus Entertainment published action RPG. As the developer said, and I quote, "In 2022, Dontnod will strengthen its production capacity in the buoyant action RPG segment through the ramp up of development of Project 8 with Focus Entertainment and the launch of a new production line dedicated to this segment," the developer says. Details on the game are still scanned, but back in 2019, it was said that it would be one of the most ambitious in the history of the publisher and studio. Interesting. Meanwhile, Dontnod has reiterated that it's making 6 games in development, as we know, etc., etc. Well, there's another topic in there we'll come into shortly. But now this is interesting because I don't know the first-hand experience of playing Vampire, but are they trying to make it Vampire 2 a full-on like Horizon-style massive open-world game?
Yeah, definitely, because that sells. Like honestly, open worlds sell. And if you're trying to say like, oh, open worlds don't sell anymore, the 2 biggest games so far for Horizon Forbidden Wilds and also
Forbidden West.
Ring. Forbidden West and Elden Ring. And those are the top selling games so far. And Pokemon's going to be an open world RPG. So if you're trying to, yeah.
And on top of that, the Pokemon game that was just released, Arceus, was open world, the first big one.
So if you're trying to tell me that like, oh, well, open worlds don't sell anymore, I call bull crap because they do. And I think that's what exactly is going to happen is that Vampire is going to be an open world RPG, much like Arkham City was, I think. More like a giant open HUD. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like super open, but I think it's going to be it's going to remind us a lot of Arkham City in that kind of way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to take your word for it because I think like that's what I see with the kind of like them doing with the game of Vampire scale, because it's like open world games are the thing now. Every game has a fucking open world in it.
It's
like
been
even
open world for like 15 years at this point.
Yeah, and probably 5 years like it's ramped up. Like I remember the last time I played it was like Gears of War 5 and it had like open world segment in it. I was like, why the fuck is this in Gears of War? Keep it linear. It doesn't need it. And like some games, like when you reshape a game and put an open world segment in it, then it works. But like other games had it, like Uncharted 4 had it. I was like, what's this about? Last of Us 2 had it as well. I was like, what the hell? Well, that game just doesn't need to exist anyway. But there's like loads of games for it. And like I think like what they've said in that is really interesting.
Sorry, I'm also looking up what year was it? 15 years ago? I'm trying.
Yeah, I think you might have. I think you might have shot the gun on 15. Well, actually, no, maybe that was it. The advert of like Assassin's Creed around that time coming around.
Yeah, 2007. 2007 was Assassin's Creed, and that's the thing. Assassin's Creed, the first game was it was open world. It was open world. It was open world. It had open HUDs within the open world, but it was an open world game. So I am correct on that statement that open world games were the thing to go to, because even in 2009 when Assassin's Creed 2 came out, that was essentially an open world. So yeah, open worlds have been like the biggest selling points of a game. Skyrim 2011, like it's been the biggest selling point of a game for 15 years now.
Fallout, Grand Theft Auto, Fortnite, they're all open world. Everything is open world. Like it's like
the next stage in life. I mean, Dying Light 2, huge open world. The next stage in a game's sequel, not to say Dying Light, the first one, was an open world, because it was. But even Session that I talk about a lot, Session's the next skateboarding simulating game, is an open world. It's an open world. So whether you want to say it's not or it is most definitely an open world game. But it's in the next stage of life. Things are going to be open world, and so is Vampire. That's just facts.
Yeah, and Dontnod can take the gamble.
Life is Strange.
Well, we had semi-open worlds, haven't we? Like all of them. Well, most of them have been hubs, but like I think like True Colors tried to try and be an open world. It was very limited still, but They tried to
Yeah,
open
and
it
a
up.
whole open world of emotional distraught. I love it.
That would be the one. But on your point of open world, I feel like because obviously Donut has more time to experiment with a game, working with Focus, for example, like they have that opportunity to like take a risk with it. I don't see any of their individual IPs being open scale, full open world games with like, with them publishing it. I just don't think they're going to take the risk from it. I know that the studio, from the way that they always say it as well, they know they have to be very careful because like Remember Me was a big blow for them. They only really bounced back. I think Oscar Gabert said himself, where it's like they only really recovered because of Life is Strange's success. And like I said before, that was a sleeper hit. They didn't expect it to be as successful as it was. Square Enix when it came out. It's like in itself, like they have to be careful what they're doing. They need to be very business savvy, smart with the decision with the games that they make. They will sell games, they'll sell units with them, but it's like how much you sell. And it's like when Twin Mirror doesn't sell as much, and it wasn't necessarily a complete disaster in that kind of sense. It's a very early kind of process. Then you have to kind of like pull it back.
It was
a bit.
Days Gone, if we're really going to say it like that. Days Gone wasn't a huge disaster, but it was still mixed,
great game.
I
love Days Gone. That was such a shame. The potential in that game was the sequel, which was more annoying. I feel like if you want to take, I haven't played it, obviously Twin Mirrors, you could probably make a sequel and try and build it, but then you'd have to give it a big marketing push because you need to get it out there. And that's the big issue with Donut, because it's basically you're in a position where it's like you're selling something now on your own. How do you do it? And how do you tap into it? Because your studio isn't necessarily as big as Rockstar, as big as Naughty Dog, as big as some of the big hitters where they can just sell the games themselves. You have to kind of position yourself in the market and get as much appeal as you can out to it. Because in itself as well, like this release window of all those games, like when you said 3 games next year, imagine you putting 3 games out in a year and then they say, oh yeah, we're going to launch, the new Wolverine game from Insomniac, or like, the new Spider-Man game from.
Oh, that's right. That's coming out in 2023, isn't it?
Well, I think Wolverine's quite late, but that's really an early development. I think Spider-Man is coming out in 2023. I think that's Sony's big one for 2023.
Speaking of way too early, and this is kind of like older news, that Quantic Dream Star Wars game, they're like, oh yeah, it's so early development. We might not see it till 2027. I'm like, what was the point then? What was that CGI? Like, they're still hiring for it.
Yeah, but that's what they do though. It's like even during the Wolverine trailer,
insane.
But during the Wolverine trailer that they showed, for example,
that was a teaser. That's the craziest part.
But they do that. Teaser. But they do that, and then they put loads of jobs out afterwards, expecting people to get hired because they want to obviously upscale development. That's how they're going to do it. I think they're probably in the Montreal crew will do it when they drop their game. They'll probably be like, "Yeah, we're going to hire another UX designer or something like that." Just add on to it. It just seems to be the way that the industry goes. But I think like with them as well, like obviously we let David Cage do his own thing as well. Man's emotionally working his way through thing. But I think like with Dontnod, I think like the strategy, obviously, like you said, putting 3 games out in that 1 year. Imagine if like you put a game out and then like Sony drops a news of like, yeah, we're gonna put Spider-Man out 4 days later. You'd be like, fuck. If you're Dontnod, because you have to move that game because you're no way you're going to put it in a frame window with other big hitters, because at that point it's going to be cannibalized. But if it's a Focus Home Interactive published game with Dontnod's involvement, then they can move it into that window and be like, if it gets cannibalized, it's on Focus, isn't it? It's not really on Dontnod, because they'd be like, we're only developing your game, you're publishing it, you're getting the marketing out for it. But in itself, Focus won't do that because they're a good publisher in terms of what they know how to sell things. So that was really interesting news, and it's the way that they're selling it, the way that I read it, because I wanted to break it away from the other segment of games we were covering. I think like it's just the way that it's worded. So I feel like the ambition is to go bigger with Dontnod games. I think it will eventually break out, because I think you can't obviously the kind of like the go-to one is obviously Telltale. You can't do the same thing again and again and again and again, because eventually, Father Time catches up to you, and it's like that's in the sense that you haven't modernized in any way, shape, or form, and Dontnod probably has no intention of doing that.
Yeah, no, that I totally agree, but I have nothing more to add on that. Yeah,
we will move on then to the next piece, which is again from Dontnod. We'll continue with Dontnod. As I said, a lot of news. This is again interesting news. So they are publishing another game. So obviously we gave you a bit of an update before, so I will take you back to Gaming Vault for this. So Dontnod may have started out as a small team making relatively niche games like Life is Strange, but the company has been expanding in significant ways of late. Just a couple of months ago, it was announced that indie studio PortaPlay's narrative light RPG Gerda, A Flame in Winter would mark the studio's publishing debut. And now we know that next step in that journey is going to be as well. What? Dontnod has announced that it will also be publishing the next game by Belgium-based team, Studio Tolima. The deal will also see the company co-producing the title with the developer, with Dontnod providing, quote unquote, its knowledge and experience acquired with its previous titles, end quote, to Studio Tolima, quote unquote, in order to support this future creation in its development and marketing, end quote. While the full extent of this co-production deal and what it will entail behind the scenes hasn't been detailed, Dontnod says in its announcement, and I quote, the controlled co-production developed by a handful of talents and based on a minimalist universe offers significant adaptation potential, both in terms of media, PC, mobile, tablet, and language versions to address the most dynamic markets, end quote. Dontnod Entertainment will hold the majority rights to the IP, whatever it turns out to be. Details of what sort of game is in the works or what genre it will fall in are scant now. That said, the company says it will be its publishing and marketing departments, quote unquote, have been strengthened and are now made of more than 20 talents, end quote, and will allow it to, quote unquote, support future game releases, whether self-published or developed by external studios, end quote. In addition to publishing titles developed by external partners, Dontnod also currently plans to release 5 self-published, internally developed titles by 2025. So in itself, I think that's more ammunition there in terms of what we've just been talking about, that they've obviously beefed up their marketing team, which they need to do as well, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And they need that as well, because it's not just for them selling their own titles, it's obviously for them selling these titles. So obviously like Gerda and this game from the Belgium studio, they're going to have to like sell their games as well. So obviously it's like, and when we covered Gerda as well, how many people really covered it?
True. Like, I don't think any at all.
And that's not a dig on it. It's just a very niche game. It's from a very small indie studio with a very niche kind of subject, and the way it's kind of marketed. Are you really going to sell it to mass consumers?
Well, I think it's just that last line that I'm looking at right now, and I'm completely stupid. It's like part of the 5 or 6 games they're going to release in 2025 includes Gerda, right? Gerda, and then this game that they're going to be self-publishing. Am I right on thinking that solves 2 of them at least?
Maybe. So this is the other thing. So obviously, if we're going to narrow it down, maybe it does include the ones they're getting involved in.
Yeah,
maybe, but I don't know. That's the thing. We can't.
Again, there's so many like technicalities on this. Like, I'm not trying to say that Gerda isn't a game. I'm just trying to say this, like, Dontnod is releasing a game. We're not necessarily saying it's a Dontnod made IP. It could be Gerda, which is published, kind of like in a way of just like, technically Doom is a Bethesda game, but what do you think? Like, Bethesda and Doom go together more often, but it's really like another studio doing it.
Yeah. And on top of this as well, the studio's putting its own workforce into this project, which obviously is very reminiscent. Obviously, Square Enix external studios helped on Life is Strange many times. So obviously, when the Dontnod crew were working on their games, that Square Enix externals developers would help them out on there. So this is kind of like very eerily similar to what obviously Dontnod has experienced before. But yeah, this is kind of a bit more reassuring. Despite why I broke it away from the other news, because it's like, we don't know what the project is, but it sounds, again, they're trying to build it as very ambitious, and I think they kind of try and tap into a certain market. And on top of that, the main thing is developing the marketing. I think like that's what they need to realize more than anything else. In that fiscal report, the telling signs are there. The fact that there's 2 games that you're most successful, both have been published by a big publisher, and the one that you haven't, that you publish on your own, is a big kind of like thing, didn't sell as well as you expected to. There's the thing. There's the warning for you, and that's what you need to deal with. And once you deal with that,
it's all set. But I'm excited for Dontnod. I'm excited for the future. I think Dontnod is just done with Square Enix. I think they've had enough of it. And they know from year after year of what a publisher does, at this point, because if we're going to even just go on their history from 2015 onward, excuse me, my goodness. But they've had past with Square Enix earlier than that, I believe. But like, if we're going to go 2015 to 2022, like that's 7 years of just dealing with a publisher. And I think they're just sick of dealing with publishers. So now they're just really taking that foothold and saying like, listen, we're going to take active steps to do this. We know how to publish a game. We're tired of dealing with this particular publisher. So now we are going to be the publisher and being the good guys here. And I think that's a natural step for a lot of people in general, of saying like, listen, I'm an expert at this and I'm going to start my own thing. That's why these indie studios are being made by industry veterans. It's the next stage of life, saying like, well, I know how to publish this game, so I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah, I agree with you, because like I think you have to imagine as well, like Luke, Michel, all these guys, they worked on Life is Strange for how many years? It's like the opportunity to go out there and like not many studios get an opportunity to do like a lot of IPs fresh off it. Like look at Horizon, for example. Like that's a big Guerrilla Games got a lifetime opportunity. They were basically the Killzone studio and do like a lot of other games. They didn't really get an opportunity to do an IP like that. It's been an unbelievable success. They offer like these guys the opportunity to go to Montreal, build their studio, create their game, their vision. They're going to take it, and it's like, as you said, like the grip hold up. Obviously, that you have a publisher like Square Enix coming in. I don't know obviously what they're doing, but they'll have an influence of what's being done on a project because they own an IP. So I think like in itself, I think like the ambition for Dontnod is to build itself into a big player in the industry, and then in itself protect its own IPs, because they want its own IPs. It'll want its own original titles, where it's like if it gets a big hit like Life is Strange, then it has an IP under its bank, and it's like, oh, this is really big. It's interesting because I remember saying to you on your podcast last year, where I came on.
Yeah, it might have been last year. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about Tell Me Why. And I said to you that I think realistically that maybe Dontnod could get bought out by Microsoft. And that is still a realistic possibility as well.
Yeah. Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Realistically, like there's nothing stopping you. If they can buy Activision, they can buy any studio on the planet.
I just hope they don't. I really hope they don't. I feel like Dontnod's really getting their stride in. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I hope not. It
just depends on where Dontnod goes. This is the direction of it. Because obviously, I don't know what the Tencent project involved is. There's injection of money going there, obviously, from that Chinese part of the company, which is I'm very against in every way, shape, or form. It's bad as well because Tencent and what they represent as well. And for a studio that developed Life is Strange as well. It's a bit and especially like the themes you're sending. But anyway, get away from that. We don't know what that project is. They're getting money from certain kind of like string, and obviously keep building, and then hopefully the ambition for the studios to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I feel like they'll be in a comfortable position, but you can't rule out a big publisher coming up and being like, hey, come over. It's still early days, but see what happens from that.
Yeah, it's still early to tell. I think it's going to be, I think next year we're really going to see like where this goes. I mean, this year, I think we just need to ride it out. We just need to watch Elden Ring take Game of the Year this year and, kind of go on to the next year. Forbidden West is not winning Game of the Year. I'm sorry.
I can't be asked with like the Elden. I don't even play those Souls games, but people in that community just piss me off. It's like they make out like this the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, come on, I've seen better games. It looks some of the games. Well, do you know what? I will say this as well because I've seen Luke and Michel tweet about Elden Ring, and maybe their game gets delayed because they might be playing a lot of Elden Ring.
They're just playing Elden Ring.
And I wouldn't blame them either if they got like completely taken away.
And that's the thing. We just got to ride this year out. Let Pokemon come out and all this, and I think next year is the year for Dontnod. Honestly,
yeah, I think there'll be a big push next year, definitely. So we'll go on to the final topic, which is very small, but just kind of thingy, which is obviously big mention from Michel, dropping a little tweet late last month, which we're obviously addressing in March. So he's put, it's already been 1 year since we moved to Montreal, and I couldn't be happier. I'm loving the place, the people, and the vibe. We are building a wonderful team at Dontnod Montreal and working on a kick-ass project. Life is good. So Life is Good is obviously not the name of the video game, as people have all been like saying,
well, why would he say life is good? Life is never good, Michel, especially in Canada.
So no, I dropped that in there because obviously it comes back to what you asked me before, which I completely forgot about. What you can, if you actually remember what it is.
Wait, I'm sorry. What? I was reading the replies to see if Michel is like hinting any more in the replies. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Was it that you asked me if this game could come out this year or be announced this year?
Yeah, no, there's no chance because this is in quote with his tweet right here. We are building a wonderful team, actively building. They don't have the full team yet. and working on a kick-ass project. It's just like this is going to be the last game to be released.
Yeah, I got carried away with the motion capture and stuff like that. I was like, maybe they're kind of like making serious headway, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be as far into development. I think my prediction of it being announced maybe this year was a bit premature.
Oh yeah, no, it's I'm taking that statement back. It's not going to be announced this year. It might be announced. It might be like announced tease next fall. I'm not talking about this fall. I'm talking about fall 2023.
So you feel like
a little.
So in your mind, do you think they're going to announce it next year, and this will be the last game in that calendar of,
I don't think they'll announce it. I think there'll be like a little teaser of just like kind of like the creators of Life is Strange are, in a project.
Can they use that? Can they use that? I don't think so.
I don't know. Like, I don't know the legalities of it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just some guy who hangs guitars on walls,
I need to go back and watch. I will probably try and watch for the next episode. I'll go back and watch some of the Tell Me Why stuff. I'm pretty sure they would not be able to use from the creators of Life is Strange. I just have a funny feeling. Obviously, because it's a big set marketing point, and like when I took you back to my example from Death Stranding with Kojima, his name sells in itself. But like they never used Sony never used in the marketing from the creator of Metal Gear Solid.
They just use Kojima, but like you said, Kojima is pretty much the same thing. Like you're gonna say like, oh, made by Kojima. It's like, oh, interesting. Because Kojima is synonymous with Metal Gear. It definitely is. Whereas like you can't really say like from the creators of Skyrim, and you can't just say Todd Howard to like really anybody, because like Todd Howard,
there's it's a Shinji Mikami's, Hideo Kojima's, the big names that stand out. Miyazaki's, the ones who define the industry, like Spielberg's. They're the ones who sell it. Obviously, other people you like from the creators of whatever, and that's not disrespectful. It's just some people transcend their medium.
You really have to like follow games news to really like know who Todd Howard is. Versus you just have to be like into video games to know who Miyazaki is, or Kojima, especially. I wouldn't even say David Cage falls in that category. Like you don't really have to follow games news to know who David Cage is, because it's kind of like it's synonymous to Quantic Dream. But whether or not he's a trustworthy person, I'm just saying that his name sells games. So
let's not get any legality issues with this podcast, please. I'm in Europe.
Yeah.
Like already.
Oh yeah.
You're in like, yes, but no, I know you mean. I know you mean. It's like Miyazaki is the Kojima's, the Shinji Mikami's, the David Cage is the the Neil Druckmann's. The people like those will just sell the games. And I don't think Neil Druckmann actually. I don't think that might be a bit too much premature for saying that. But there's some big ones. Obviously Miyamoto as well. I feel like we missed a big dog off there. So they sell it, and I think like this is the one where I think like they will have to put a lot of focus on this Dontnod to get like a lot of support behind it and sell. This project will be big. I think I'm hoping that the game that the Dontnod Montreal crew is, if it's narrative driven and stuff, they can have that kind of like, they don't have to say from the creators of Life is Strange, but you'll know who they are. And you just need to put them in places and kind of sell things and like build whatever they're doing. So in itself, I think like I'm very excited for this project. As I said, there's not a huge amount of speculation or anything for this tweet. I feel like it was just a nice, little casual update. And like you said, I think my perception has changed from it maybe being announced this year to next year now.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah. So I don't think it's even going to be teased this year. Not even close. If it's like working on it and their plan schedule is 2025, it's not even going to be teased this year at all.
No. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm done. You got anything else to add?
Stand with Ukraine.
Stand with Ukraine, yes,
and fuck Putin
and him. Yeah, big shout out to the man who runs the Life is Strange Timer Twitter account who lives in Ukraine. I've been following some of his tweets and his Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his name is, but he's located in Kiev. He's been showing like a lot of pictures of what's been happening in Ukraine, and there's a lot of suffering going on, and I'm glad that the US is like taking some stands to like take some sanctions on. Like I'm very thankful for Xbox for taking away any sales going to Russia. So like there's a lot of things that like they're taking a stand against to really block off Russia. So, go with that. Fuck Putin.
Indeed. And it's just not nice to see the horrific images of people in the middle of a mainland war in Europe. So yeah, my heart is right with the people of Ukraine, and to the guy who runs also the Life is Strange Twitter, Life is Strange Timer Twitter account. I hope you stay safe. But yeah, that'll be our episode for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you are on YouTube, please do leave us a like, subscribe, comment in the in the YouTube section. Let us know if you actually have an Xbox like Adam. We need to know if there's more than one person on Xbox in there. But yeah, do leave us your thoughts in there. Are you excited for any of the Don't Know projects? Do you think they're doing something that we don't know about? Anything mysterious? Let us know in the comments. And obviously, you can catch us on podcast services. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We're on like God knows how many services. They're in the links as well. So you can access this podcast at many places. And if you're listening on the RSS feeds, you can come to YouTube and watch us in video version as well. And yeah, if you're on the podcast services, please do leave us a like, subscribe, and comment, and all that. It helps the algorithms and whatever. But yeah, great episode. We will see you in 2 weeks, I imagine, for a lot more Life is Strange conversations. But until then, take care, guys. We'll see you later.
Later.